Well, hello, and welcome to my latest video, Nomadland, written and directed by Chloe Zhao. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you spend your money? Stick around and you'll find out. Now, some of my more recent viewers may not know that before I did a lot of cycling videos, I used to do a lot of movie reviews, and you can find quite a number of them on my list of videos on my channel. I haven't done any reviews for quite a while. A simple reason for that is I guess I haven't been to the movies. And why haven't I been to the movies? Take a wild guess. But Nomadland is available on Disney Plus, and I happen to have Disney Plus because my son got hold of it on our telly round about Christmas when he was home from university, and so I took the opportunity to watch it. So the thing about Nomadland is I read the book by Jessica Bruder a few months ago, certainly before the film came out. I think it was available in America, but I saw the book on Amazon, I guess it was, bought it and read it, and I was a bit underwhelmed, if I'm honest. It's an interesting book. It's not a bad book. It's quite well written, but it's quite episodic. And it tells the story of a group of nomads, if you like, people, generally older people, who live in vans and travel across America, taking on various types of work. And it's, as I say, it's quite a well-written book, but it didn't really do a great deal for me. So when the film came out and when it won the Oscar, I was wondering about it. Would it be a lot better than the book? Now, let me say, first of all, that one of the things about the book is that there's a lot of stuff in there about Amazon, because a lot of the people, the nomads, if you like, that work at Amazon. And what Chloe Zhao has done has taken out most of the stuff about Amazon, most of the stuff about the working lives of these nomad people, most of the sort of sub-capitalist, anti-capitalism polemic, of which there is a certain amount, not a great deal, but a certain amount in the book. And instead has focused on a couple of key characters, and one key character in particular, a character called Fern. Now, you may know the old Simon and Garfunkel song, America, and they've all gone to look for America. And what Chloe Zhao has done is she's gone and she's looked for America. Now, the world or the earth is not flat, despite what a lot of people would have you believe. But I think America is flat. And the reason I think America is flat is because there's a lot of stuff around the edges. There's a lot of stuff around the margins of America. There are religious fundamentalists, there are survivalist groups, there are extreme right-wing, left-wing groups, there are communes, hippies, bankers, rich people, middle-class people, sports people. And there are all these people who live at the margins, around the edges. And what Chloe Zhao has done is she's gone to the margins, if you like. She's gone to the edges, and she's made a film about these nomads. Now, nomads are, or the American nomads, you can't really imagine the same thing happening in Britain, because Britain just isn't a big enough country. But in America, the big country, you can sell all your possessions, either because you're forced to or because you want to, and you can live in a van and you can travel across these vast open spaces, and you can find work in various places. Now, to a certain extent, you can do that in Britain, but you can't really do it because the country is not big enough. There isn't the wide open spaces. There isn't the range of opportunities as there is in America. So the people, and they're generally elderly, have moved into vans for a range of reasons. Now, Fern has moved into a van because she, with her husband, worked for a place called Empire, which was a gypsum maker. And they used to make a lot of gypsum, and then the market for gypsum collapsed. I mean, who knew? And because they're people who were working for this company, lived in company-owned houses, when the business ceased, then they had to leave their houses. There's a live version of Bruce Springsteen's Youngstown, which he starts off by saying, I can't imagine what it'd be like if you work for a place for 30 years and then someone comes along and tells you you're not needed anymore. But this is what happens to Fern. Her husband dies, the town closes down, and so she gets rid of her remaining possessions and she lives in a van and she travels the country working in different places, sometimes Amazon, sometimes a sugar beet farm, sometimes as a kind of camp operator in a transit camp for people, a sort of RV camp. And this is a film about her life. Now, if the film had followed the kind of, or rather, let me rephrase that. The film follows the episodic nature of the book, but whereas I found the episodic nature of the book a bit of a weakness, in this film, it's a strength. My wife said to me, does it have a happy ending? And because she didn't watch the film, and I was thinking about that for a while, and I kind of struggled for an answer. And in the end, I said, well, it doesn't really have an ending in that sense. It's not a Hollywood film. It doesn't have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the concept of a happy ending doesn't really exist. What it does is it follows Fern's journey, and it dips in and out of Fern's journey as she goes across America in her van. And at the end of the film, it dips out again. So Fern continues on, and we imagine Fern as a bit like a kind of 21st century version of Ma Jode in The Grapes of Wrath. And to a certain extent, this is a 21st century Grapes of Wrath. But Fern, she carries on, because that's what people do. That's what all of us do at the end of the day. We carry on because we don't really have any choice. Some people might carry on with wealth behind them. Some people might carry on without any wealth behind them. Some people might carry on in their lives of quiet desperation in their middle-class townships, and some people carry on in their vans in which they travel around the country. So that's what Fern does. She carries on. Now the film really stands or falls by its central performance, and its central performance by Frances McDormand is a truly Oscar-winning performance. And you will say, well, she won the Oscar, Julian. And yes, you can understand why she won the Oscar, and you can also understand how deserving she is of that Oscar. There's not a great deal of dialogue in the film. The script is very pared down. It's very bare. It's very spare. It's very sparse. But what Frances McDormand can do with a look, a glance, a sigh, just an inner quiet turmoil, a certain amount of joy, a certain amount of happiness, a certain amount of sadness, a certain amount of upset or distress. It's all there. It's all written in her face, and the way that Chloe Zhao and McDormand, who co-produces the film, have drawn out of Fern. They have filleted from the book the key elements, and the key elements are the human story of Fern and the few people and the very slight love interest, which is kind of hinted at and then shied away from for a whole range of reasons. The performance by McDormand is an absolute tour de force, and the film itself is a tour de force in its quiet way, in the way it dips in and out of Fern's life on these enormous, cold, windswept, snow-driven landscapes, peopled in odd pockets by these individuals travelling the country in their vans, seeking a bit of work because they don't have the savings behind them, they don't have the money behind them, and they can't make enough money out of social security benefits. But it's not a polemic against capitalism. It's not about the paucity of social security benefits. It's not about the lack of free medical care in the United States. Although these kind of things are touched on, it's not about that. It's focused very clearly and very carefully on Fern's life, and we inhabit Fern's life with her, and we will her not to succeed, because she's not trying to achieve anything in particular other than what I say about Marjode. She's trying to keep on. She's keeping on. When I was watching it on Disney Plus, it had the subtitles on, and I couldn't switch the subtitles on. I didn't mind watching the subtitles, but it wasn't just the subtitles. They gave you a little description of what was happening. So at one point it says bicycle bell rings. At another point, in fact quite a few points in the film, it says indistinct chatter, because she's walking past groups of people and there are conversations going on in the background, but they're indistinct. And when McDormand is in her van and she's upset over something, it says sighs. At one point she suffers from an upset stomach and has to go to the toilet in her bucket in her van, and it says defecating, or defecating as my wife says it is. The music is superb, and there's a kind of soft lilting quality to it. And when that music comes on, there is a little subtitle that came on my screen saying soft instrumental music. And there's a point where she comes across a stray dog, and you think, does she adopt the dog? Does the dog become her new family? And then it says at the bottom, dog whining. I'll leave you to watch the film for yourself and find out what happens to Fern and the dog. So, Nomadland, what's it like? It is a truly wonderful film. I struggled a little bit at the beginning to get into it. I started relating it too closely to the book. I thought it was going to be a bit episodic, not really getting to the heart of the characters, which I didn't feel the book did. I'm not quite sure why, but there was something journalistic about the book. It was writing about people, whereas the film inhabits the people, if that makes sense. In the book you read about their journeys, whereas in the film you live their journeys. You share their journeys in a kind of way. You are part of these people's lives, and we all in our own way lead lives of quiet desperation. But Fern, there is some hope in Fern. There is some hope in her future, and one hopes there is some hope for us all. So Nomadland, yes, if you have to get Disney Plus on a subscription, then get it and watch this film. And when the cinemas open again and you can go to the cinema, go and watch Nomadland, because it is a truly wonderful film. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.